Hey, how's it going? So now I'm back with another video, and this time I have cards. Oh shoot, I had undone my hair and I just realized my ponytail looks like it's frozen in time. Oh well. I could touch it again. I'm looking for my cards that I took, the cards that I want to read to you. I already have them. So, before I get started, please look at my signs. Okie dokie. So, my topic that came to mind is something that I guess you could say it's bothered me for a while. And it is, well, part of it has bothered me for a while. So I really didn't start thinking of it in these terms until earlier today, or, I guess it was yesterday. And then I had to think about it for a while, and then I had to meditate on it for a while, because I was just concerned about the way it's going to come across. But you know what? It's going to come across the way it's going to come across. So somebody might not like my opinion. It happens. Okay, so from the Light Seers deck, I pulled 5 cards. And did I even say what my subject is? It is addiction in the form of capitalism. And one thing I did, it wasn't on purpose. Like an algorithm, I did not say, oh, maybe I did say it somewhere on my phone. No, I don't think I did, and I'm pretty sure I didn't say it out loud. Whatever, somehow the algorithm knew that I wanted to talk about wealth and how it's kind of really destructive to, like, everybody else. Wrote a whole thing on it. We'll see how it goes. I may or may not read it. But the point is that capitalism is like the American way. And unfortunately, it's not just about, the acquisition of funds or property or whatever signifies the wealth, the valuable commodity. It's that it's mutated and evolved to where it's like, well, like I said, it's the American way now, and by that I mean that we used to be about something else when you talked about America. Although I will interrupt myself to say right here that a lot of the myths that we're constantly, I don't even really hear it that much anymore, and it might be because of what I'm trying to talk about, but I think you will still hear some people say America's the greatest country in the world, which I just want to say, shut up. Why would you say something like that? Like, the other countries feel the same way. I don't know. That's just how I feel about it. But it just is like arrogant and dumb and not even true in a lot of ways. Like, our history does not paint us that great, no matter what we think about it. And I always kind of got that. But interestingly, recently, I got to see Russia's version of history of, like, the aftermath of World War II, and they present themselves far differently than we see of them. So why would that not be the same for anybody else? Like, if I get that it's sickening and gross, and I'm an American, yeah. Anyway, but the point is like, it's not just about trade anymore. It's become like trade of anything, everybody, and anything, regardless of what kind of damage that incurs. One thing I said in my notes was that some of the corporation owners and that have, like, the big, really scary, wealthy ones, like with wealth that you can't even imagine, of wealth that like they're hoarding it so bad, like for their like forebears or their like, you know, family that they're gonna leave behind, that it's like you already have so much that they can all live quite well. Like whoever's gonna come along for, unless you got some real wasteful morons, you have a lot of money for everybody for a really long time. Like you can stop. And I'm certain that people with money helped the government form way back before we had one, which is why it's like such a tradition today that they don't see nothing wrong with handing over a bunch of money to politicians and expecting them to do their bidding because they did that. Like, vote, that's a joke. That ain't worth anything, apparently, to somebody that's really wealthy that can come along and, you know, take advantage of a politician's weaknesses. Like they may have problems where they owe a lot of money, and it's the same thing that can get you like you become attractive to other countries that want to make a spy out of you. So these rich people, they find people like that and then they make them their pawn. They make them their voice in the government. They make them their lever in power, which, I mean, they could go and try to become the politician themselves, and they don't, I mean, there's lots of ways to cheat if you got a lot of money. But what I started to say is that way back at the beginning, I remember from history, this government needed money, and where do you think they got it? Who had money? Well, families that are still around today, I'll tell you that. So, back to what I was saying. When someone is super duper rich or wealthy, whatever, it's disgusting. I'll give you an example. The Coke Industries. Notice the pluralness of that, industries. Investigate that. I can tell you right now, it's so many things that you buy and that are in your house that you maybe didn't even realize came from a Coke brother, enterprise, whatever, family. And maybe you are like me where you don't want to like continue to support that, but it's like it's really hard to get away from. It's as hard to get away from as salt and sugar additives in food that have no need for added sugar and salt, but rich families got to sell that sugar and salt, and deals get made and money changes hands, and that's like their American way. Like the zeros in the account makes all the difference. And these are people where you don't, it's one of those, how rich are you? Well, if you need to ask, then you'll never understand. But even if you don't need to ask, they're so rich you will never understand, because they've been accumulating that money for generation after generation after generation, and that's too many years close. That's years that are too close together. I'm talking like centuries here. So I feel like those people always felt like, well, I handed over money for this, and even though you did it to get something in return, like a full-on quid pro quo, you still expect to just be repaid over and over, and you just keep coming back and asking for stuff. And it's been going on since before we had a government to now. Like, it's just the tradition. It's the American way. It's capitalism before it had a name, and we still do it. And those people just think that they deserve everything because they gave over some money, and because they just nullified your vote, basically. Oh, thanks, I'm just supposed to accept that? No, like, I don't just accept that. That's gross and piggish, and you don't need all that much. And I feel like these debts these people feel they're owed by everybody else because, well, I did this, my family did this, and we started it. Like, yeah, that happened. You were repaid a long time ago. Quit trying to suck the nipple forever. You have a ton of money already. Go away and do rich people stuff, and you don't even need government. You're just playing games with people's lives. So I said, don't get all excited and angry like that. Unfortunately, it's hard not to get a little irritated by these people, because the thing about the pernicious capitalism is, if you're successful at it, you're screwing up a whole bunch of other people. And also, to be successful in that way, and successful, just raking in the dollars, because that's success, cha-ching, you can't, you can't care if you still have feelings, but I feel like it's been bred out of these people to even give a crap like what you do. The idea of what you do damaging other people and their lives doesn't seem to register on these people anymore. And also, they think that they're not subject to laws. Everybody else is. That's fine for everybody else. Then they're totally legitimate, and definitely let's have the laws. But when it comes to them getting caught for the stuff they get up to, dude, Jeffrey Epstein and all of his clientele, like, they all think, well, they'll have every reason under the sun that they're not guilty or responsible or did anything wrong. But that's my point. People that are not of their same class, that don't have their same power, just get stepped on and rolled under. And it's like, no, that we don't have to put up with that. We don't have to accept that that's just the way it is. That's how we do things. Why? If so many people are unhappy, unhealthy, hurt, physically, emotionally, whatever it is, as a result of what these people are doing, I feel like it needs to stop. So I have been hesitant to talk about this in this way because it's so unpopular. I think everybody wants to be rich, and some people are like, just to give you an example of some mindsets, let's take student loan forgiveness. Some people went to college and paid and are totally pissed if other people are going to not have to pay, because if they suffered, you should have to suffer the same way. I don't think spreading the suffering's the way to go. So then you have the other camp of, yeah, I paid and it hurt, but you know what? That's why I don't want anybody else to have to pay and go through what I went through. So there's a couple of mindsets to this, but there's got to be a middle ground where, no, I take it back. Well, yes, there should be a middle ground where everyone can be pleased. Unfortunately, that doesn't work, okay? Like, you just have to be cut and dried with these other people, because they don't think that they need to adhere to laws or responsibility, or, give a crap about the other people that either don't immediately serve them in some way or enhance them and their life, or are their families. I mean, I don't know what the dynamic is like when you're wealthy, but I've heard some stories, and it's just as awful as if you're really poor. Like, we're just human nature, we're just awful. Or we can be. We're not always awful, obviously, but so like I started to say, I've been hesitant to kind of go off about this because so many people are just like, that's how we do it. Shut up. Don't say bad things about it. I want to get rich. Good, get rich. I want you to. Just don't be stepping all over everybody else and sucking the life out of the whole country to do it. It ain't necessary. So here's the thing. This is why I broke my hesitation, even though it happened probably a couple of weeks to a month ago. I finally saw someone else just online going, this kind of wealth should be outlawed. That ain't gonna happen, because people do still want to get rich, and there's plenty of people out there that are really rich that actually aren't harmful and hurtful, but I think they're in the minority. So what I think is that, yeah, that kind of wealth, when it hurts people, should be criminalized, but we have laws. We just have to enforce them, even for them people and their bitchin' lawyers. But somehow their lawyers always are like better, or they win more, and there's something wrong with that. Like, whatever that is has to be worked out and eliminated. It's just unfair. And I don't want to hear about, ooh, dues and I worked for. Some of you people didn't work for a damn thing, and it's been generational. And yeah, people have jobs, and yeah, they went to school, but that looks so different for those people than other people, and the opportunities look so different for them. So that's got to stop. So here's what I think. Cap the amount of wealth that you can have. When it becomes damaging to the whole country, you should not have it. Sorry, but you also live with all of these other people. You can still have your money and your accomplishments, but not to the degree where it's hurting other people. So that is the mindset I've had when I pull the cards. What am I saying? Whatever, I'm not going to fix that. So, Lights Here's deck. First card I pulled was Two of Pentacles. And I think it's interesting that when, it's Pentacles, I was already talking about money, and then it's also juggling, but notice what it's juggling. It's juggling, it looks like the sun, which is an indicator of light, but notice there's a pentagram in there. My vision is so messed up. Oh, there it is. See? Right there. Single spire pointing up. So the good kind, or the kind we associate with, like, the good witch. Whatever. But it's also up in the sky like the sun. So light and goodness. Love and light, right? This one, I think it's actually very corny, but it's red like the red devil. But also it has the sort of evil pentagram with the two spires pointing up right there. And I just thought, well, that stinks. That worked out. This is so convenient. But that's like, they're both being juggled by, well, I mean, this person could be like somebody dancing off of mushrooms at Burning Man, or they could be somebody just poverty-stricken that lives in a desert country. I'm saying it sort of represents, I guess, like people, like the population in general. It could be either one, could be everybody, could be anybody. But they're in the middle of this juggle where the light's on top right now, and I hope that that prevails and means that some sense, some light can come to show the darkness of what happens with this greedy, self-centered, what is the word when you want to keep everything away from everybody else? Hoarding comes to mind, but I feel like there's a sharper word for it, because hoarding is like, by the time you're hoarding stuff, you're crackers. You're not right in the head. So, but Howard Hughes, crackers, not right in the head. I don't know how harmful he was to the general public, though. But without naming any names, let's just say that people that own social media sites create a lot of damage from, kids or teens to adults across the board. And they're like a vehicle for viruses, and they don't even try to clean it up. But like I said, I ain't mentioning any names, just platforms. So, the next card I pulled was the Two of Cups. So I had like an earlier interpretation of this when I first looked at it, but what it was that that greedy hand gripping the hand with the money in it, and blending together. So I feel like it's the money that went into the government and the people accepting it. It's all rainbow, though. I mean, I wish that happened, because like a rainbow, other than the gay meaning for it that people get so mad at it, the rainbows existed before they took that meaning on, right, for gay people. It just like like, ever heard of a thesaurus? My God, things can mean more than one thing. But this suggests, like, in a darker sense, an acceptance, like, okay, I'll do your bidding, I'll accept your money. But what if this is like, yes, okay, I'll accept your money, and it's actually trying to do good and, like, contribute to the whole that you got all of this benefit from as a wealthy person, and it may be generational wealth or it may be new wealth, but if you got it, it's not a bad idea to put some back in, like pay it forward or backward, I guess really makes more sense, but giving back to the community essentially is what I'm saying. That would be helpful. That would be joyful. People would be really happy for the help. And also, people that don't give, I guess, don't understand that there's a benefit to it as well. Like, you're giving something away, but you also get for it. And you never know exactly what form that's going to show up in. It might be, you might get your money back, or you might get something that you didn't even know you would enjoy and value so much. And that's like a joy in itself, just the suspense and the surprise of it. It's like, we could try doing stuff differently. And like I said, people would still be very well off, if they helped. It's not like, so it's like, are you willing to be a healthy part of the human body, or are you going to be like a sickly organ and make everything else feel bad? So, the next card I pulled is Seven of Pentacles, back on money again. So, here's the thing. If you give back and plant those seeds, you get a different kind of growth. And, well, it's like the other way is like, sell things that are going to make people sick, or sell things that are going to make people hurt each other. And in a way, it's like that kind of thing helps other people that don't want to help people. Like, sad to say, but the medical industry, like, even before I personally had some recent problems with medical people, I've been seeing reports for, it seems like, a couple of years now, where hospitals are kicking people out into like terrible weather in hospital gowns and plastic bags with their belongings in them, and wheeling them to the door and then booting them out of the chairs and saying, that's it, you're gone. And it's like, yeah, they're putting people that are on the edge of death out in a blizzard, and old people, and what is up with that? That is a business type tactic and behavior. Geez, flies grow fast. And it's gross and ugly. And that's what happens when you don't invest in the system that, by the way, everybody has to use. I mean, you can be rich and have all of the best things, but I'll tell you, when they set off the radiation tests, there was no money in the world that could stop those radioactive clouds from going all over the whole world and infecting the food that everybody ate, and the water that everybody drank, and the air that everybody breathed. So you might be insulated for a little while, but eventually it's gonna get you too. Which is, as a chippy, we're not alone in these things. And so I think this shows, like, you could plant those seeds of generosity in society and see dividends, not of a monetary kind, but still for that donator, that giver. They could see you're going to profit, because we're all able to access the world. I mean, unless you're in like North Korea, you can pretty much go places and do things, and that nothing except for someone's private property where they live really is not accessible to everybody else, and that's a made up artificial boundary anyway. I mean, it's essentially a sign of respect that those are respected. Oh, also in money too, in violence, and we need to eliminate a bunch of those things because they're just not good for the people that it's directed at, or the people that are handing it out. Like, I just don't believe that it's healthy. And if you're unhealthy, if your growing environment is unhealthy, you ain't gonna get growth. You're not gonna get fruits of your labor. So next card I pulled was I haven't been naming the numbers. Yes, I have. So that was the 7 of Pentacles, by the way. And the next card I pulled was the number 12 card, the Hangman. And that, I mean, like, hanging is not normally really supposed to be comfortable, but that looks like a terrible way to be hung. Oh, that she's just in motion, sort of, and proving a point, and she doesn't stay that way because that, I don't know, she's in shape. Maybe it's great. I don't know. Looks uncomfortable. Looks uncomfortable to me. And sometimes, like, reflection can be uncomfortable. And, you know, that's what this card represents, is getting a new perspective. And depending on what you're getting your perspective on, usually if you find yourself in a place like that, you're thinking about something that is not the easiest thing to just deal with. Otherwise, would you have to sit around and think about it for a while and, like, just run through, like, every scenario and the pros and cons and whatever you're thinking about, you're going to come to a conclusion. And I don't know, like, personally, the best conclusions come from getting some sort of painful, inconvenient thing broken down, figured out, and out of the way. Like, make a plan to deal where you don't have to deal in that way anymore, and just move forward, I feel like. And you often find yourself in the position of the hangman when you run out of ideas and options, and you're just like, I give up, I don't know what to do. And then that's when the answers come, when you're not struggling and trying to force them to. Like, the trying and the forcing, that energy is just not conducive to get off of there till whatever you're trying to get happening. You know, I think in a way we all know this, but we all get to this sort of, it's almost like a meditative state. Oh, I mean, it is a meditative state because you're just sitting there thinking about stuff, like running, like I said, running scenarios, like how does this work, or why does this not work? And, you know, depending on, like, where you are at, like, what your level is of, like, this kind of contemplation, like how useful it is, I think that it takes some practice, especially when it comes down to, like, seeing some hard facts and hard truths in yourself. Like, if you can get to the point where you realize, like, dang, this same thing keeps happening in my life, and I don't want it to go that way. Like, it's like say it's relationships, but you just can't get one to last, or you can't get one where you're not, like, arguing with the person, or for whatever reason you keep trying and it's just not working out. And I would say, if it were myself, this was happening too, I'd say, what is the common denominator here? Because I keep trying to do the same thing and it keeps messing up. Well, there's one. You keep trying, you keep going, and there's something to be said for doing that. But I really think it depends on what you're doing it for, and what, you know, like, there's different sort of situations where it's appropriate to try, and then others where it really isn't to try. Like, sometimes you just got to be still and allow events to take place without they don't need to be driven. They don't need a stagecoach driver. Events can pretty much just do their thing, you know. Mainly what we have to do is like not get burned up while we're sitting around waiting for life to happen, you know, like make sure we're not stepping in front of a bus or walking out the window by accident, you know, like it doesn't have to be that complicated. Like just maybe pay attention to some little things and let life take care of itself for a little while, because it can do that. So the last card I pulled was number 6, the Lovers. And, you know, given what I'm talking about, this would be a successful coming together of those two energies, I guess. Like one where help is needed and everybody else chips in and helps, and I'm going to say this is standing for the light portion of that, because the people that need the help also do a lot of the helping all of the time. And then so this is the other side of it, like the wealthy representation is kind of dark because they try not to pay in to help at all, and a lot of them don't for years, and they have massive numbers, tons of money, and it's like, you're not paying? You can't pay a little? My hope is that with all of this planting of seeds, I'm hoping that there will be a lot of planting of seeds, and by individuals who can plant like more seeds to be of more help to more people. I think that's a mindset that would be helpful and healthy for more people that don't contribute and normally don't want to contribute, or normally don't contribute. Both of those things. If that is the person, if there is a person like that out there, I would hope that they could sort of change their way of thinking, because it's not always just about yourself and your gain, but also that your gain also for yourself can be of benefit to a whole lot of other people than yourself. In other words, you can help people quite a bit and not really take much away from yourself, especially if you're as wealthy as I'm talking about, because what I'm talking about, you're not going to really miss it, you know. And if you're not paying taxes, my God, please pay some damn taxes. It's stuff like that that makes people like me say, well, this cannot go on. The people should not be able to just be this destructive. I don't care how much money they got, because like I said, these deaths seem like they're like a hereditary or something, and I'm of the feeling that no, they've been paid back many, many, many times over the 100+ years. So like, knock that off. Just stop being like from 100 years ago or 200 years ago. Just stop it. That's not what we're dealing with now. We're in another time, and more changes are happening, and like, come on, you know, get it together and get together, everyone. Like, let's get it on. Because it's not, we need, I think, to try something else. Just like, let's just try it, because we've tried a lot of other ill-advised things. Sometimes we don't even get a choice. Like, stuff just happens, and it doesn't work out well for all of the people a lot of times. Or, you know, there's a lot of people that it doesn't work out well for, that I mean, do I have to detail it? I mean, people like become no more or become less than they were because of injury or illness due to something that happened because of the let's face it, the wealthy people think that they can move around the rest of us like game pieces, and that has to end because we're not. You know, like that's it's just mistaken to view people that way, in my opinion, because you can minimize people as much as you want, but if everybody did what I think everybody should do when it becomes really terrible and people are hurting and stuff isn't getting done that needs to get done, and I'm not talking about a time like right now. Right now, it looks like we're heading for a more positive era politically, at least for the next 4 years if Harris gets elected. However, as good as Harris looks pretty regular, actually, for a politician. I mean, she was a prosecutor, so she's not going to be all legalized marijuana, woohoo. Like, I don't think she's that person. And I don't think Walz is either. And he did magnificent things as a governor in Minnesota, but I am not going to delude myself that he's going to come in and inspire the same kind of stuff to happen. I think that there would have to be a lot of even more vocal support, even though it's been there for quite some time, for, you know, like national health care. And we are currently seeing that not everybody thought it was like a great idea to make abortion not just illegal but dangerous. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, people's lives are not to just be treated like experiments or things that are just disposable. Like, that's wrong. And by the way, those wealthy people don't want to be ill-treated either. So it's like, what the heck is wrong with you? You don't have any kind of, like, empathy, schmempathy. You can't understand that, like, you can't have it all good and then expect everybody else to just have it crap and be happy about it, or just, like, shut up because it's inconvenient for you. Like, no, man, that's illness. So that that is what I have to say about that. And look, I wish I was just all fluffy, puppy, happy, sunshine, rainbows all the time, but that just came to mind. It wasn't like I was all, let me find something to get on those people about. Like, it just came to mind, and this is what came out. So it's over. Thank you, and good night.